Let's tackle the speed word problem. Toronto is 3,400 kilometers away from Vancouver. Calculate the time in seconds for light to travel from Toronto to Vancouver. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to write down what the question gives you, so G for given. And the question gives you a couple things. First thing it gives you is the distance, and it tells you that the distance from Toronto to Vancouver is 3,400 kilometers. It also gives you the speed of light, which is 3.0 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. This is the value that you won't have to memorize. It's something that will always be given to you on a test, quiz, or exam. The next thing that you should notice is that both of these values, they're in two different units. One is in kilometers and one is in meters. So in order for you to be able to cross out those units, they need to be in the same units. So you can do this in two different ways. You can convert 3,400 kilometers to meters, which would become 3,400,000 meters. Or alternatively, you can convert the speed of light, 3.0 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second, into kilometers per second, which would be 3.0 times 10 to the power of 5 kilometers per second. If you're not quite sure how to convert from kilometers to meters, make sure you watch the video on conversions. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to write down what the question is asking for. So what is actually required of you? And what's required is t. It's asking for time, and it wants it in seconds. The next thing that you need to do is you need to write down your analysis. So in your analysis section, that's when you write down your equation that you're going to use. And you're going to use the equation C is equal to D over T. C is equal to D over T is the same as V equals D over T. It's just since light is special, it gets its own special letter, which is C. There is a video on how to rearrange the equation V equals D over T to get an equation to solve for D or to get an equation to solve for T. And I'm going to quickly do that right here. So if you have V equals D over T, and you want to get, for example, D by itself, then you know that V is really V over 1. If you cross multiply, right, V times T, D times 1, you would get D is equal to V times T. Now, if you want to solve for T, which is specifically what our question is asking for, you want T by itself. So to get T by itself, you have to divide by V, and what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And then now, your rearranged equation is equal to T equals D over V. The next thing you're going to do now is you are going to solve. So you're going to sub in the values into this equation that you have gotten. So T is equal to D over V. And that would then equal 3,400 kilometers over 3.0 times 10 to the power of 5 kilometers per second. Note how I use the kilometers per second version as opposed to the meters per second, because I want to be able to cross out those units. Now you're going to plug this into your calculator. And when you plug this into your calculator, make sure you include the brackets. So I'm going to walk you through what you should be plugging into your calculator. You're going to plug in 3,400 divided by, open bracket, 3 times 10 to the power of 5, close bracket, equals. And the answer that you get is 0.011333333, and it could continue depending on what your calculator goes up to. So now that you have this, what you should notice is that there's way too many sig figs. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sig figs. But if you look at the question here only has 2 sig figs. That means your answer needs to be as specific as, just having 2 significant digits. So then you need to convert this into 2 sig figs. And you can do that in 2 different ways. The first way, which is the easiest way, is just looking at the value and cutting off a bunch of the stuff that are not required. So to sum that up into 2 sig figs, it would be 0.011 seconds. Now the other way is to use scientific notation. Using scientific notation, we convert that to 1.1 times 10 to the power of -2 seconds. And they're both the exact same number, it's just expressed in 2 different ways. Then the last part of grasp is you are going to paraphrase. So you're going to write your final sentence. This is my favorite part. It would take light 0.011 or 1.1 times 10 to the -2 seconds. And that's it.